please subscribe to my channel. It happened during a family gathering at my sister's house on a night filled with conversation, laughter, and the familiar comfort of everyone talking over one another. I had always been known as the quick-witted one, the playful person who never missed an opportunity to make a joke, even when my humor occasionally crossed the line. That evening, while everyone was gathered around the dinner table, I naturally slipped into that familiar role. With a teasing smile, I joked about trading in my husband if anyone happened to be interested. To me, it was completely harmless, just another throwaway comment meant to make everyone laugh. But the reaction that followed was something I never could have imagined. The table filled with light laughter as everyone waited for my husband's usual response. They expected his shy smile or perhaps a sarcastic remark to match mine. Instead, he leaned back slightly in his chair. His eyes slowly moved around the room before returning to me. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, but there was a sharpness beneath it, as if he had been carrying those words inside him for much longer than I realized. "Maybe you should," he said quietly, "because then maybe someone might actually value me more than you do." The atmosphere changed in an instant. The laughter disappeared. Forks stopped halfway to mouths, and the smile on my face slowly faded. My husband had never been the kind of man to raise his voice or openly display anger. Yet somehow those few calm words hurt more than shouting ever could. The silence around us became heavier. My sister looked down at her plate. My cousins shifted awkwardly in their seats, while even my father cleared his throat, seemingly hoping to break the uncomfortable quiet. But nothing could erase the weight of what had just been said. I wanted to laugh it off and pretend it was simply another joke. I wanted to turn the moment back into something lighthearted. But when I looked into his eyes, I knew that wasn't possible. There was no anger in them. Instead, they held something much more painful: disappointment. For the first time, I truly understood something I had never bothered to think about before. Every little comment I had made over the years, every careless joke I had thrown at his expense, had been piling up somewhere inside him. And now, all of it had finally come crashing down in front of everyone. His response wasn't simply a comeback, it was a mirror. It forced me to see how badly I had treated him without even realizing the damage I was causing. The evening continued, but the cheerful mood had disappeared. Conversations became quieter, and whatever laughter remained felt forced. Later, while we were driving home, I tried explaining myself. I told him I hadn't meant anything serious and tried to make it sound like nothing more than a joke. I even attempted to joke about the situation again, hoping he would finally smile. He didn't. His silence swallowed every word I said. That silence felt heavier than anything he could have told me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake replaying his calm but painful sentence over and over in my mind. With every repetition, it seemed to become louder. Eventually, I realized that what he had given me wasn't anger. It was quiet revenge. And somehow, it had reached deeper than any argument ever could. Over the next few days, the consequences became impossible to ignore. Whispers began spreading throughout the family, although nobody directly confronted me. I noticed that relatives who had once laughed freely at my bold jokes now spoke to me with noticeable restraint. But whenever they spoke to my husband, their voices carried a different kind of warmth and respect. It felt as though his single response had revealed something everyone had quietly noticed for years but had never dared to say aloud. I had been the person making fun of him, but now I was the one being silently judged. The man I had casually mocked had somehow risen above me in the eyes of everyone around us. At home, I tried desperately to repair the damage. I cooked his favorite meals, apologized more times than I could count, and searched for every possible way to bring us back to the relationship we had before. He never shouted at me. He never tried to punish me with anger. He remained kind and polite, but I could feel the distance between us. The warmth that had always existed between us was no longer there. His silence became a language of its own. It told me something I was slowly beginning to understand. Once respect is broken, rebuilding it is not easy. My punishment wasn't his anger or his shouting. It was the heavy stillness of a man who had finally stopped trying to prove his value to someone who had spent years overlooking it. Weeks went by, and my regret grew stronger with every passing day. I started noticing that other people were treating him differently too. His friends described him as strong. Our family admired the way he had handled the situation. Even his coworkers seemed to respect him more. Meanwhile, I had become the subject of quiet conversations. I was now the wife who had mocked her husband until his calm response finally silenced her. The balance between us had changed, and this time I was the one who felt smaller in the eyes of everyone around us. One quiet evening, I could no longer bear the silence between us. I finally asked him whether he still loved me. He didn't answer immediately. He simply looked at me with tired eyes. There was no anger in his expression, only an exhausted honesty that somehow hurt even more. "Love isn't the question," he finally said. "Respect is. And once respect is gone, love doesn't stand very long either." His words struck me harder than any confrontation could have. In that moment, everything became clear. I finally understood that whatever I had believed love was, it wasn't enough to hold a relationship together without respect underneath it. From that day forward, I began to change. Not because I was afraid of losing him, but because I finally understood the weight of my words and the damage they had caused. I stopped making jokes at his expense. I stopped treating his feelings like something that could simply be laughed away. Instead, I began seeing him for who he truly was, a man who deserved dignity, respect, honor, and genuine care. That one calm sentence had done far more than silence me. It changed the way I spoke to him. It changed the way I treated him. Most importantly, it changed the way I understood love. Even years later, whenever our family gathers, the memory of that night still remains. No one makes those kinds of jokes anymore. People look at my husband with a level of respect that wasn't there before. And whenever they look at me, I can still sense the quiet reminder of what I almost lost. That night at my sister's house is permanently etched into my memory. I no longer remember it as a joke that went too far. I remember it as the turning point that forced me to face the truth. His strength was never found in shouting, anger, or fury. It was in his calm dignity. It was in the silence that forced me to look at myself honestly for the first time. That single sentence, spoken without anger, became the sharpest weapon I had ever faced, and it left me with a truth I could never ignore again. Sometimes the strongest form of revenge isn't rage.